Hey, mathematicians, I knew you might get a little sad if you didn't get to see me today, just like I get a little sad when I don't get to see you. So I wanted to take a look at the work we had started yesterday and didn't quite get to finish. You were asked to show each of these fractions in one of the 4 by 6 rectangles that's on this page. And I think what was tripping each of us up a little bit was that we are used to when we are asked to shade 1/4, we're used to there just being 4 pieces and we know to shade in one. But if you look at these 4 by 6 rectangles, there are 24 little pieces. And so we have to figure out how many pieces would be in 1/4 of that rectangle. And so yesterday you did a super job of figuring out that if you um, just shaded in one whole row, you could see how that would be 1/4. So I know many of you found that way. Some of you may have found a different way to show 1/4 that might have looked like that. And what we discussed in our lesson was that we realized both of these show 1/4. And we also realized that it took 6 little squares to be 1/4 of this rectangle. So then if I wanted to show 2/4, I know I have to show 1/4 and another 1/4, and that would make 2/4. So the same if you did it the other way. There's 1/4, and now there's 2/4. So I know what you're going to say. If we want to show 3/4, we have to fill in 3 of the rows to be green, and that would show 3/4. And again, if we were doing it with the different way, the fourth like turned more like a bigger rectangle, that would be 3/4, right? And then if we want to show 4/4, we know the whole thing is going to be filled in, no matter which way we did it. So hopefully that helps you to see a little clearer what we were doing yesterday. Now, then we didn't even get to this part in the lesson, but many of you came to Reach the Teacher and we gave this a try together. We have to figure out now how many little squares would be in 1/8, because now we need to make 8 pieces in that rectangle. Well, we also know that 8 is just 4 doubled. So think about it. If you go back to this 4/4 and you just did a slice right down the middle, wouldn't you now have 8 pieces? Okay, and I'm really sorry if you can hear Mr. Clark washing dishes in the background. I am not sure why he decided now was the time, but apparently now's the time. And isn't it nice to know that Mr. Clark washes dishes? Okay, so sorry about that. He's gonna get stink eye when I'm done. Okay, just saying. All right, so back to the math lesson. Sorry. So now, I've got to think about how I can divide these 4 by 6 rectangles into 8 pieces. And we just talked about if we look at the 4/4, well, what if we just chop those 4/4 in half and suddenly we would have 8? So if we do that, an eighth would look like this, wouldn't it? Right? And so then 2/8 would look like 1/8 and 1/8. Ah, 2/8 right there. And if we were doing 3/8, there are our 3 pieces of 1/8 put together. And if we were doing 4/8, look at this, and 5/8. Aren't you proud of me that my pieces are not perfectly aligned? I thought you might be proud of me. There's 6/8, 7/8, and there would be 8/8. We took 8 of those little pieces and put them together to make 8/8. So hopefully now this is a little bit clearer to you. And I'm not really worried if you didn't finish yesterday's work. I'm more worried that you understand it. That's always the most important thing with me. Okay, so let's take a look at what else we're going to do today. Remember yesterday that we were imagining that this rectangle was a sandwich, right? I know that eating is very important to some of you out there. I will not mention names, but you know who you are. So imagine that this rectangle is a sandwich, just like we did yesterday. And I wanted to eat half of the sandwich. So I would cut it just right down the middle here. And this would be the half of the sandwich I ate. But what if I wanted to cut that sandwich into fourths like I did over here? How many fourths do I need to eat to have half of the sandwich? So think about that just for a moment with me. If you're saying that you would need to eat 2/4 to equal 1/2 of the sandwich, you are absolutely right. 2/4 equals 1/2. We can say that 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. I'm sorry, I changed the slide a little early. Um, and did you hear that big word equivalent in there? It's right up here. Do you see it? That just means equal, generating equal fractions, generating equivalent fractions. So if you look here, some of the kids did some equivalent fractions. Benson and Sabrina, do you know them? They're my good friends. So here, look at Sabrina divided this rectangle or sandwich into thirds. I can see here's a third, here's a third, and here's a third. And she has one of the three pieces shaded in, so that's 1/3. And then look at what she did. She wanted to make sixths. So she divided those thirds in half, just going straight across. Do you see this little bit darker line here? And now she has 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And look at what she said. 1/3 equals 2/6. Would you agree with her? I totally would. Sabrina's got it going on. Okay, and then here's my friend Benson down here. And he said that he divided his sandwich into fourths. And it's sort of hard to see, but you can see there's half, fourth, and then if he divided it there to make fourths, and he's got 2/4 equals 1/2. So there's some more examples of equivalent fractions. Let's look at one more friend who made some equivalent fractions, Marisol. And she said she had 3/4, and she said that's the same as 6/8. That's kind of what we did back on that page a couple slides ago where we were looking at the eighths. So she just divided those fourths in half and made eighths. And so 3/4, 3 out of 4 pieces are shaded, and 6 out of 8 pieces are shaded. And you can see they're exactly the same, just different fractions, just a different way to write it, but they're equivalent. I know there are some of you that out there that love that word. You were asking about equivalent fractions yesterday. All right, and then looky here. This one was divided into tenths. And so she said, well, if I take out that middle line, now I have fifths. And so 8/10 is the same as 4/5. So you may have seen this page in your notebook, and it just says 2/4 equals 1/2, and 4/8 is the same as 2/4, which is the same as 1/2. So 4/8 and 1/2 would also be equivalent fractions.